Everyone, welcome to another CEO Wisdom podcast. Today with us we have John Lee Dumas. He's a legend. I'm even a bit nervous to talk about him. You guys probably know him from EO Fire, Entrepreneur on Fire podcast. I've listened to this podcast since a good decade. So yeah, John it's an honor to have you here today. Can you briefly introduce yourself and tell us about EO Fire?
Fired up to be here. 10.5 years ago, I had this crazy idea to launch the first daily podcast interviewing the world's most successful entrepreneurs. Everybody told me it couldn't be done, which made me even more excited about finding a way to do it. So I launched Entrepreneurs on Fire. Here we are, a decade plus later, 4,000 episodes, 150 million listens. Still rocking the mic, having a great time doing it.
You're a legend. You've shared your financial reports for quite some time. I've always devoured those. You are religiously, whatever that word is, precise about your finance, and we really enjoy that. There was rumors that you're about to sell the pod, and that makes a whole lot of sense. I've been watching your latest moves with the pod. So tell us about a potential exit with your podcasting business. The why not keep the podcast as a cash cow, for example? Why are you potentially seeking an exit here?
Yeah, so I'm actually seeking a partnership, not an exit. So, there's definitely a lot of interesting things that kind of swirl around when, you are making moves in the world. And the reality is this: I love what I do with Entrepreneurs on Fire. 4,000 episodes. I love interviewing entrepreneurs. I love what you and I are doing, having this conversation, being interviewed by other individuals. I love this conversation, these types of conversations, and I don't want to stop having them. What I do want is the Entrepreneurs on Fire platform to grow. I want it to be bigger. Is it big right now? Yeah, 2 million listens a month. That's a big platform. 150 million listens over its lifetime. That's a big platform, but it could be so much bigger. I've been growing my brands for 10 years, essentially organically. I have a tiny team of 3 people. As you noticed in the income reports, our net profits are insane. A lot of times approaching and sometimes even surpassing 90%. We bring our lawyer on for a legal tip, our accountant on for a tax tip, and to validate all of those numbers so people know that they're real, because they are. But the fact is, I love the interviews that I do, and I want them to reach more people. And I think a lot of successful entrepreneurs know the following statements. The person to grow a business from zero to whatever that might be, $1 million, $10 million, or 1 million listens, 10 million listens, is not the same person to grow that business to $100 million, to 100 million listens. And I'm not that person. I want to keep doing what I love doing, the interviews. And I want to find a partner who's going to come in, buy a majority stake of Entrepreneurs on Fire, and then do all the things that I know can be done. Find the partnerships, pour in the advertising dollars. Because right now it's all organic, baby. I don't have any expertise in advertising as far as like promoting my show on social media and all these different areas and using advertising dollars. I'd be throwing away that money if I did it by myself. And frankly, I'm not impressed with the agencies that are out there that do that. Like, I need somebody with a vested interest who knows how to do this, that wants to do this and wants to blow Entrepreneurs on Fire up from a business that's making, close to $3 million in revenue a year, netting most of that, and taking it up to $10 million a year, and then $25 million a year, and then $50 million a year and beyond, if that's something that they're capable of doing, because I'm not the person to do it. But I want to retain, 20, 25% ownership of this company because I love it. I want to continue to be the talent, and I want to help this company grow as big as I think it can be to reach more people. So, this is not what a lot of people like just kind of thought by the headlines, which is like, I want to sell this podcast, kind of like wipe my hands and walk away into the sunset. I don't want to do that, number one, because that wouldn't work, because it's really impossible to just hand a influencer like business to somebody else and expect that to continue going forward. And B, I would have nothing to do. Like, I'm a guy that likes working, that likes doing my craft, and I want to keep doing it just on a bigger stage with more exciting opportunities that are being presented with the right partner, with the right team, with the right company. So, Entrepreneurs on Fire, again, I want to find a majority buyer that wants to come in with the excitement and the right plan. I want to retain minority. I want to stay in the company as the talent. And if I can find the right business partner to do that, then we'll make it happen. If I can't, I'll just stay here in Puerto Rico where I'm at, making a couple million plus dollars a year net profit, paying essentially no taxes. Life is good.
Life is good, man. In terms of my first million, they got acquired by HubSpot, kind of the hustle, right? So it's a bit more complex than that. What would that partner look like? Because if it's a company, a big company, well, they would have to put an operator, which is kind of complex, which means it would either be a former acquisition of theirs. So, for example, if they would put Sam Parr as the host of your podcast, that could make sense. Yet, are you looking for that big company? Because not all kinds of individuals have uh, 10, 15 million to drop on a podcast. So, like, precisely, I'm trying to figure out like who would be a good acquisition. Would it be like a small business? Would it be a big company like HubSpot?
Yeah, I can tell you who it wouldn't be, and it would not be Sam Parr. I mean, the guy's got a lot of skills, but doing 7 interviews a week is not something that he would want to or could do effectively. And very few people could. And I don't, again, kind of see myself being replaced. I want to remain the talent. I've got the skills, the chops, the talents, and the track record of somebody who's produced a daily podcast for over a decade. I love doing it. I want to continue doing it. Now, like Sam, in some ways, and like my first million and the hustle, I have, a huge deal with HubSpot, 7 figures. I've actually signed my second 7-figure contract with them. So can I see HubSpot being a company that acquires Entrepreneurs on Fire and does a lot of the similar things that they did with the hustle and my first million? I could absolutely see that. Could I see another perfect situation of a person that wants to build their own personal brands and, has a lot of money to do that? And instead of them just starting from scratch saying, hey, I could buy slash partner with Entrepreneurs on Fire, own the majority stake, have John Lee Dumas retained on as the talent and continuing to do what he does best. And then I could grow my brand alongside of Entrepreneurs on Fire, try a lot of cool things along the way, bring in my areas of expertise with partnerships, with affiliates, with advertising, with all the different things that they can and could bring to the table that I just don't want to do the work to do myself because it's just not my area of expertise, nor do I have the desire to do it. That would be a perfect buyer coming in, somebody being like, hey, I was going to spend a few $1,000,000 myself trying to build my own personal brand. You here got Entrepreneurs on Fire, 10 years of brand building, all that comes with, the equity that comes with as well, the audience that's already in place, the name recognition, all of those things. I could supercharge, what I want to do by partnering with something like that and then taking their skills that they have that got them to where they are to be the success that they are, that they're in a financial position to buy a podcast for $15.5 million and be off to the races.
Right, I get a better picture now. We're gonna go rapid fire podcast
Let's do
related
it.
questions. So, okay, I've seen the masterclass model in your latest podcast. You charge to be on the pod. That's genius. How do you go with that and free model? Because some people are somewhat famous enough to bring good attraction to the pod. So, how do you go free vs masterclass paid model?
So are you talking about, for instance, my podcasting course, having that kind of?
For example, if I would want to be me on the EO Fire podcast, I would have to pay, right? And but potentially deliver a masterclass. So how do you go with that paid model via the free model?
Oh, okay, I understand. Yeah. So with Entrepreneurs on Fire, we have what's called an appearance fee, which is $3,500 to be a guest on our show. We get approximately 400 to 500 inquiries per month of people that are looking to be on the podcast. So we take those individuals and those inbounds and we send them to an application page, the first of which says, if you are selected, there is a $3,500 appearance fee. So that, of course, cuts like 75% of people off right away because, frankly, they're not entrepreneurs on fire, because an entrepreneur who is on fire could easily handle a marketing expense like that to be exposed to a massive platform. So that kind of does a good job right there of clearing a lot of the individuals who frankly aren't ready for a platform like mine at this moment. And then we get applications of the people that are, and then we really go in for the topic. We're really focused on like, what topic are they proposing and how good of a fit is it right now for our audience? That's a key thing. If their topic proposal is a good fit, then I actually jump on a 5-minute call with that person, because people can look good on paper, but they can be a good person, but they might not be a good communicator. They might not be somebody who is able to talk the talk like they're walking the walk. And so I like to kind of just jump on. It's a quick 5-minute call. I have a couple quick questions for them. I catch their vibe, their energy, to make sure that I think it'd be a good interview based off of their personality. And then if those two things really align, the personality and the topic, then we can talk about next steps if it's the right fit. And then if it's the right fit, then it is a $3,500 appearance fee. Now, that's the last 5 years we've been doing that. The first 5 years, we did not do that. We were building our show, building our numbers, building our awareness, and building just the overall audience that we now have. And so it was much more of an outbound game. It was, hey, I need to go find people to fill a 7-day-a-week show. Now, if I was only doing a weekly show, it would have come a lot quicker, because you only need to find 4 people per month then. I was trying to find 30 people per month, back when people hadn't really heard of the show. So that was always a full-time job the first couple of years, and of course, if I was adding on a pay model on top of that, it just would not have worked. So everything was free. That's how podcasts have to start. And then once you see, and this is, just an entrepreneurial business reality, supply and demand, baby. It's all about supply and demand. When I saw I was getting 200, then 300, then 400, then 500 inquiries for 30 spots, I'm like, that's supply and demand. Let's cut out the chaff. Let's focus on the people that really would be a good fit for the show. Let's charge them for it, and let's see how that goes. And a couple things that I loved about that, to be honest with you, is when you pay and you make an investment like that, even if you are really financially successful, like, you want that to be worthwhile. So people would practice and prepare and show up, and they were ready, and they were delivering great value. And then when the show came out, they're now promoting it to their audience, because it's a big marketing expense for them. Where before, it didn't happen often, but every now and then someone would be like, oh yeah, my secretary booked this. What are we doing right now? Are we doing? And they wouldn't really have any idea. They would just be very unprepared, and it'd be very frustrating. So I did love that aspect of charging. And I always do recommend, if you have a show where you've been doing for a little while and you've built up some credibility, some authority, start charging $200, start charging $500, like whatever you feel like might work, and maybe play around with that. And you'll be shocked at how serious your guests start taking your show.
Financial accountability. Yeah, I get people asking me that all the time. I think what I'm going to do, but yeah, it's kind of controversial. I would charge folks that are not great communicator, but that would kind of overlap on the quality of the pod, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure about that one.
I just think it's always like, is your listener getting a good experience first and foremost? Because they have to stay. They have to recommend your show to others. Like, that's how your show is going to grow. So that's why, even though it's a lot of my time, I jump on these 5-minute calls with every potential guest that goes through the application process. People that have already raised their hand and said, yes, I will pay $3,500. Yes, this is the topic that I want to talk about. If those things make sense and they've checked the first box and the topic looks good, I take the time to jump on a call with them, because they have to be a good communicator. They have to be able to have a personality that's going to be enjoyable to my listeners. Otherwise, the show just does not work.
Yeah, it's tough to refuse people. So my downsell is like, let's connect on LinkedIn and see for the future. Last question for you, John. I know you're tight on time. quality, yes, but are you bullish on some platform? For example, nowadays I'm publishing these on YouTube and I do YouTube shorts, really bullish on YouTube. What do you think about that?
Very bullish on YouTube. I think it's fantastic, especially for long tail. Like when you can get really good guests, people will be searching for those names and watching those shows for years and years to come. Somebody who's done a spectacular job on that is Lewis Howes. Like he's really maximized the YouTube platform, and it's just awesome to see what he's done there. Unfortunately, with a daily podcast, I just didn't see the way that I could create a quality video show 7 days a week. If I was doing a weekly show, absolutely, because it just gives you more flexibility. But with a daily show, I just had to call a spade and just recognize that, hey, I'm just going to go for quantity and quality audio only. Like that's the focus. So I love the platform of YouTube. I think it's fantastic. I think there's been some ups and downs with Spotify, but I think, they've got a great opportunity to do some good things in the space. I think, Pandora is way behind, but, there's some opportunities there as well. And, there's just the old stalwarts like Apple Podcasts is still doing its thing, and they're still doing really, really good, albeit slow improvement.
Love it, man. Thank you so much for your time, John. It's been amazing. Where can people find out more about you?
Entrepreneurs on Fire is the podcast. Come and listen. Website's eofire.com. Check it out. Those income reports that we talked about, all 117 of them are right there on the page. And it's been great chatting.
Thank you so much.